And welcome back to Area DMG. I am your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and today we're going to demonstrate the color changing palettes on the Game Boy Color. Now, when playing a Game Boy Color game, or rather an older Game Boy game on the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, or the Game Boy Player, you could choose a, quote, color palette, end quote. There's actually, if I remember correctly, there's about 12 different palettes. And you got those palettes by either holding the A button or the B button and pressing a direction on your control pad. So we're going to demonstrate every single one of those. Most of the time I use left plus B because that's black and white. So we're going to demonstrate this with The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Now we're pushing left. The left palette. Oh, this is not my particular Legend of Zelda pack. Well then, whatever. Let's take a look at it. This one has the background is blue and the front sprites are yellow, with the secondary sprites being green. When you hold down your sword, it flashes between those different secondary sprites. See these for a moment? And that's the left palette. Okay, we're going to start this over again, and now we're going to push up. This is up, just up. Up is a kind of an orangish look. Everything is pretty monochrome actually. There's no variation. It's all a light brown and orange palette. If you push down at the Nintendo Game Boy Color load-up screen, you get this odd little one. This one is kind of a pink, light pastels. Hold down that button. It's just light pink, light pastels. I think this one was intended for stuff like Balloon Kid or even Kirby's Dream Land or so. Now let's see. Now we're going to do, let's see. We're going to do right. Just right, no B and A input, gets you this kind of harsh looking one. Again, this one's a little odd. You've got white, orange, and green. It's kind of a high contrast thing. See? Now what we're going to do is we're going to hold the B button and push in different directions. Holding the B button doing this is a black and white one, but we're going to do up and B. Up and B. Up and B is another kind of tan one where the background is low contrast, but your foreground is high contrast. It's still monochrome for the most part, but you have dark blacks on your character sprites. Okay, let's do left, and B is the one that I like to use the most because this is just purely black and white in good old black and white like Game Boy games should be. Ah, such sexy black and white. So style. Okay then. Now we're going to hold down and B. Down and B is kind of a yellow and gold, or goldish type looking one, and your sprites are green and bluish. Kind of an odd look, see? Okay, let's go back. Now we're going to do B and right. B and right is inverted. It's weird. All your blacks are whites, all your whites are blacks. Somewhere, somehow, there's a something for this. Somebody needed this one. I don't know why it's making that little black flickering noise. I think it's just this particular game pack. Now we're going to do the directions with A, and then left, right, up, down, etc. Okay, we're holding A and we're pushing up. A and up is this red one in which your character is green. This is, and your secondary sprites are blue. See? Now let's go ahead and we're going to change this again. We have A and down, which is a bright yet red and yellow. And let's see if we have bombs. Secondaries are like this. It's just bright, high contrast yellow and brown. We're going to do A and right, which is kind of a freaky green and bluish. And if I remember correctly, your main character in these ones would be kind of red. Yep, let's go in here. Love the tail cave. Sight face shrine. Yep, there's our secondary sprites. And then finally we have A and left. This is A and left. It's kind of a blue with, it's like a dark blue with kind of reddish feel for your first sprites, and then your secondary sprites are also blue. So that's where we're at. Those are the different color palettes when you're selecting something on Game Boy Color. You can customize those the way that you feel matches up with your play style or with that particular game. Some games look better than others, and that's just an interesting and an unusual feature that's part of the Game Boy Color emulation. If you're playing a Game Boy Color game on the 3DS via the 3DS Virtual Console, if you hold the L and R buttons, you can switch between black and white, and then you can switch between the black and white and kind of a darkish green, which is meant to emulate the original Game Boy screen. But yeah, those are the different color palette options on the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, or Game Boy Player when you're using original Game Boy software. I'm your host, Will Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and you are now caught up.